The power of structure. Introduction. What does it take to build a house? Mathematical formulas exist so science understands that there are rules to follow. An already established structure cannot be erased. That's why you have to know the rules of the game before you play. That's what I call knowledge. Psalm 103:15-16 says, "As for man, his days are as grass, as a flower of the field. So he flourisheth, for the wind passeth over it, and it is gone, and the place therefore shall know it no more." Identity, knowledge. The beginning of knowledge starts with the word. The word originated from a declaration before existing as a written form. It has the power over life, over the dead, and over the non-existent things. It gives a face to things that are not yet visible to the eyes. Its written form serves as instructions to build. It unveils knowledge that science still does not understand. It allowed the birth of the world we know today, making it clear that this world has nothing to do with our ego, but reflects our choice as individuals. It gives us perspective on who we are and the role of each. Nothing for nothing. It can be understood through many angles because of its richness and depth. It is truth that reveals our identity. John 1:1-3. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. There are different ways to think of one's identity. We can think of our identity by the name we bear. We can think of our identity by the body we inhabit and the face we wear. We can think of our identity through our family and our ancestors. We can think of our identity based on the type of house and place we live in. We can think of our identity by the position and the social class we occupy. We can think of our identity according to the generation and the culture we're part of. We can think of our identity through the title and the work we do. We can think of our identity based on the actions we take. We can think of our identity by the way society and those around us perceive us. We can think of our identity based on our desires. There are many ways to think about one's identity, but all of these perspectives are lies. 1 Corinthians 3:16. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? The world has nothing to do with whether we have blue or pink hair. The earth is a battleground between God and the devil. The devil sees us as revenge sacrifice to feed its ego. God sees us like children who needs to be saved with the help of the Holy Spirit. Unlike what we tend to think, Jesus is not an instrument of peace, but the symbol of a sword who saves the soul of those who call on him. While the fight is happening right before our eyes, we're being seduced and entertained. Entertaining is often used while at war as a tactic, while the enemy attacks, steals, and destroys. It takes a strong mind and body to discern, resist, fight back, and watch. 1 Peter 2:11 says, "Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts, which war against the soul." The way of life of the individual does not differ from animals. They discern, protect, fight, and feed themselves. Food consists of 60 to 80% of animal activities. During the hot season, they stock up on food and build their houses in preparation for the cold season. Bears fill their bellies and dig their homes during summer to shelter with their babies during winter. Squirrels, on the other hand, stock foods in the ground as they reinforce their house with leaves in the summer in preparation for winter. Birds that do not migrate build in trees their nets of leaves and branches during the summer season to shelter there with their babies during winter. How are we different? Matthew 4:4 says, "But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God." Wall structure. Nothing stands without structure. The roots of trees are the ones supporting the ground, preventing it from collapsing under their feet. The columns of a building are those that support the walls, allowing the separation of the ceiling and the floor. Guardians are those who keep the peace, to prevent the rebels from making their own rules. Engines are what allow cars to start. Without them, they remain frozen. The wings are those that allow birds to fight the wind. Without them, they cannot take off and hover. Fathers are the ones who keep relationships alive in their home, allowing children to be taught wisdom as a gift for the next generations. Mothers are those who watch over the seasons, so they dress their house accordingly. Galatians 5:17 says, "For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would." The engineer is the one who conceptualizes structures. He conceptualizes based on thoughts. The architect, on the other hand, is the one who builds on measure. His role is to connect design and creation. To do so, he must respect a plan and a structure according to already established rules. No one can decide the sum of 1 plus 1. It is a rigid rule that cannot be changed. So then, the only way for the architect to succeed in his project is to respect the rules. The answer of 1 plus 1 is 2. This answer remains and will remain true until the end of our lives. Unlike a plan that can be changed at any time, when the rules are not respected, the structure becomes fragile and can fall at any time. An error that can cost lives. However, from a rigid rule comes new discoveries, true forever and full of possibilities. John 14:6 says, Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Solid construction. Before migrating a family into a new house, would it make sense to have its construction completed? Would you live in a house without knowing the condition of its foundation? Lest it falls on you? We're probably all familiar with the story of the 3 little pigs. Each leaves their mother's house. One builds a straw house, another a wooden house, and the last a stone house. As the story shows us, straw can disappear with a simple wind. Wood can easily be consumed by fire, but stone remains solid by its foundation. Matthew 7:24-25 says, Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. In the past, houses were built with bare hands, reflecting the hard work of man. Today, they are mainly built with machinery. These various methods can be signs of social status. Along with the materials used, which can be an indication of the quality of life. There are houses that cost in labor and others that cost in money. There are houses built with raw materials and others with synthetic materials. A house is a reflection of one's state of mind and thoughts. And the main image associated with security we know. Security is what we seek through the construction process. Job 3:19 says, "How much less in them that dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth." Is it better to have a fertile land, gold, or green papers? From food to building houses, and now to green paper. In 1970, green paper was separated from gold and lost its monetary value. However, green paper remains the structure and imagery of security, even when it's worthless. Exodus 20 verse 4 says, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness, or anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth." Maintaining security. Security is a need we all seek that is defined by assurance and certainty. Fear can be a source of motivation, but also a source of distraction. Fear has the power to influence our decisions and to encourage vigilance, making risk being perceived as danger and certainty as freedom, peace. It is recognized by the absence of courage, autonomy, confidence, and love. It is maintained by the lack of knowledge. 1 John 4 verse 18 says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love." When we think of a newborn baby, his security suggested that he has loving parents, food, and a shelter. A newborn requires these factors for its functioning and growth. In adulthood, the need for security manifests itself through different behaviors, depending on the structure in which we grew up. The word security has been redefined in many ways and has taken on many faces over the years. From cultivating food to owning land, from building houses to building fences, from a money system to material possessions, from protection to surveillance, and from assurance to fear. Genesis 11:1-4 says, "And the whole earth was of one language, and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, as they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." According to the American psychologist Abraham Maslow, security is an essential need which precedes psychological needs. He suggests that it is necessary for the growth of an individual by allowing the maintenance of order, stability, and protection. In support of the pyramid perspective, the philosopher Michel Foucault links security to the maintenance of order through the application of consequences. Inspired by the drawings and reflections of the panoptic architecture of prison by Jeremy Bentham, Foucault adheres to the perspective of seeing without being seen, monitoring the behavior of others and enforcing consequences as a remedy to discourage wrongdoings. This philosophy has manifested in cities through the omnipresence of guardians watching over the maintenance of the laws, and through the omnipresence of cameras serving as an eye in the public spaces and private homes. Isn't it crazy to think that we can replicate the rule of God? Psalm 91, 9-10 says, "Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling." Could Maslow, Bentham, and Foucault be wrong? Today, our assurance is placed on technology, making us more anxious. The rate of depression and insecurity is on the rise. No one trusts no one but technology. Furthermore, cities are in 24-hour shifts, making rest and peace a luxury. Security is maintained by knowledge, through the application of the laws and the obedience of the commandments. It manifests itself as a refuge from the enemies of peace. United expansion. Isn't it crazy to think that you can grow in the comfort of your ego? Isn't it teamwork necessary to build great things when united in the same spirit? It's easy to believe that anything is possible when you do it all on your own. No one is there to oppose. There's only one person to satisfy, and the vision depends on only one perspective. The role of ego is to make the individual believe that he only depends on himself, pushing him to madness, exhaustion, and isolation. Ego can be recognized by its fruit, depression. 1 Corinthians 12:13 says, "For by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body, whether we be Jews or Gentiles, whether we be bond or free, and have been all made to drink into one Spirit." To build, alliances are necessary, since unity allows perfection. When you think of the health system, without a construction team, a management team, a healthcare team, and a maintenance team, patients wouldn't be able to receive any care. Without infrastructure, engineers and architects, hospital wouldn't be able to operate like we see today. Without patients, doctors wouldn't be relevant. Every system requires a role structure, and maintaining a system requires unity. It is the same with the construction of a city, a government, a house, and a family. Genesis 34:16-17 says, "Then we will give you our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if you will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter, and we will be gone